10 minutes.
I didn't want
I was about to
cut you off.
Yeah, I was nervous, man.
So as I was saying, it was pretty nasty price action, right? I mean, there are some plays. I took this short here. I took the morning short and I closed that. This short here played out actually nicely, and I'm glad that I took it and I wasn't watching the whole time, just because I think I would have been, eager to close it too early. But I did catch some nice points there. They dropped, and then I'll zoom out a little bit so you guys can see what is actually happening in the market. So let me show you. For some reason,
I'm in the box.
all of Southeast is having internet issues.
I'm editing my wall. You see it?
Somebody's gonna have to go on mute. All right, so let me zoom in. So if you guys look at the, just the picture up top, right, where we're trading right now, is this bullish overall or bearish? I'm gonna increase this so you guys can see it.
Neither.
Well, I mean, we're running to all-time highs and you're not breaking the previous all-time high level. I mean, you're here, so you're accepting prices or rejecting prices?
It's bearish.
Well, this can be bearish, guys. Like,
Oh, it's
either
bullish. You're accepting
somewhat.
upstairs.
Guys, this was our previous all-time high level right here. This is our level that we are here. We cracked it, and look, we came here a few days back, right? And we bounced from there, and we talked about this, right? We anticipated that we were gonna put in what? Remember, we talked about that if we can hit this level, and we took the fibs, and then we said that there's a high chance, I think it was like 30 or something. Yeah, 130.5. So we talked about this, right? We said that, as long as they're staying above this level of 44, overall trend stays intact. And that level is very important because the concept of market auction theory and price and rejection, you guys remember how we had that box in the class and we talked about a few times, and how the price plays, right? So this is exactly what's happening now. Just here, I'll even move the box. So this is the box that we are in. We're in a bracket, and keep in mind, we're in a trend up, right? We're all-time highs. So now the price is, this is the previous all-time high here on the chart. So you came there once, right? Then you rejected it, and now you're coming here, but you're holding. As long as you're holding this level, what does that mean about the price acceptance and rejections? It means you're accepting these prices higher. That's not necessarily bearish at all, guys. That's actually really bullish, right? So overall trend, remember, you can be bullish or bearish within a bracket, but you have to understand that you're in a cycle right now. It's a very bullish cycle. Does that make sense to all? Like, the long term is strong bullish. We're just consolidating at higher levels. So I wouldn't say this is anything bearish here. Is there some exhaustion happening? Yeah, definitely, right? And that's where we're going to zoom in next, right? So if you guys look at this and you start paying attention, right? We talked about these three or here over the weekend, right? Where we said the auction is slowing down a little bit. We have the value overlap. I'm just going to drop this to like 1 for a moment. We talked about some poor highs being left, right? So they left some poor highs, and poor highs can, be two things, right? And you have to think about where we are context-wise. We're at all-time highs. The second piece is, right, if we are selling a product and we're not getting a bid on it, what does that tell you? What does that mean?
It's
too expensive. Who was, a lot of you guys remember when I was doing the theory of when I was selling the wine fridge? Do you guys recall that? When I posted the pictures that I was asking for in Marketplace, I asked some stupid amount and not a single message. And then I dropped it to like $50 and I got, I think, 1,100 messages in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right. So I played, of course I deleted it, but I played like, hey, let me put this up on the market, and free market will tell you if it's price is being, valued or not valued, or is it too high? Is there access? Is it unfair high or is it unfair low? If it's an unfair low, what happens?
Buyers coming.
I'm selling iPhone 16 Pro Max for $50. Who wants it?
Everybody.
Well, everybody, even if you don't use it, you're just gonna take it and sell it for $500. You just made $450, right? So when something is unfair low, meaning you have access on the bottom, right? That means the price went way too low and the buyer snapped it up right below the value. And that's what we expect, right? We expect responsive buyers below value. When you don't have access on the top, now think logically. I'm selling something to you guys, whatever, I don't know. Let's say PlayStation 5. I'm selling it for $5,000. How many bids will I have?
Nobody.
Nobody will be there. So when the price reaches a higher level, it can mean two things, right? The buyers were exhausted. We kept bidding. They kept asking more, and people are like, you know what? You can have it. Like, I don't want it. I don't want it. I really don't want it. And do you see this anywhere? Like, I don't know if you guys ever shopped on eBay, but they had that bidding, right, concept, right? And then there's a buy it now price, which we don't necessarily have that here, but the concept is the same. If you guys are wanting an item and you keep hitting bid, at one point you're gonna say what? Well, if this guy's crazy, he just wants it. I'm just gonna let him have it, and then he's the last bid and he wins the item. But when you step away, that means you have sellers, right, that are asking for more, and we don't have access. What would it mean to have access or called unfair high? Why would it be called unfair high? I'm trying to differentiate for you guys the difference, true meanings between access and poor highs and poor lows. What would it mean? Like, hey, we have access, unfair highs here. Just like we had unfair low, right? When the price is too low, it's unfairly low, like it's too low. If it's unfair high, it means the price is just not fairly priced and it's way too much. And it's being dictated when you have single prints at the top, right? If the profile looks like this at the top, remember having B-shaped profiles at the top is a sign of what? Now you can correlate, hopefully, the B shapes at the top means liquidation, right? You met the axis, you found out supply because it was an unfair high and people started selling. Does this make sense? So when you have a poor high, it means that maybe we got exhaustive, buyers. We can't find any new blood that's willing to bid more for that item, $1 more, not even a quarter more. In the whole market, nobody was willing to go higher than whatever this was, right? 6102.5. And it happened here and it happened here, right? So we have two unfair highs, right? And when you're looking at the context, right, it has to have a little bit of logic and confluence, whether it makes sense that they're going to revisit and fix it. When we covered volume profile, we talked about what is the highest probability to fix an unfair high and what profile day.
A P shape? No.
I want you guys to think before you answer. Don't throw the letters till you have to understand what days type you have. You have lowercase b, you have P, you have uppercase B, and then you have a D shape. So where would be the highest probability to fix an unfair high or unfair low?
D-shaped.
Okay, Tom, tell me 2 reasons why.
Oh, because they're exploring the value, the whole spectrum of it, and you get, to trade at both extremes and, potentially end at the middle. So if you're going up there, you're not going to leave an unfair high up there. You're going to, trade a little bit and come back down.
And that's
Same thing on the other
exactly it.
side.
That's exactly correct. And he nailed them all. I will just add, when you have a D-shaped profile, does that mean you're rejecting prices or accepting prices?
Accepting.
Right? When it's D-shaped, that means most likely your consolidation. And why does, how do we know we are accepting something? Right? When you think about when you're trading within value, now you guys should recognize what this will look like. Right? So you have the mean, you have the first standard deviation, second, right? And then you have the third one. When it's inside of this right here, that's the first standard deviation, which is our value area, right? This is our value area. Well, if 68% of people believe the value is there, does it make sense why we call it the value area? If 68% of time or volume is spent within here, that means majority of the market believes the price should trade in that area. Does that make sense? If I'm annoying you guys, you can say stop, but I want to make sure you guys
No, it helps.
tie it all out. Okay, so now when you look at the values, right, on a D shape, D shapes are going to have a super wide balance, or how is their balance? It's going to be below average or average, sometimes less, right? And you guys can find them, right? Well, maybe not lately, but let's go back to when the market was somewhat, I don't know how far back I have to go, but here, this one is somewhat of a D, but not really. Usually they're more compressed profiles. Maybe this one here is probably the best example we can find, and it has a little bit of access. So it started in D shape, and then towards the end of the day, it seems like they made it more of an extended typical day, right? But the profile, this is the value area. It's fairly tight, 18 to about 32 points, about 14 points of value. That's, not super wide. When the average currently is, I believe, at 21 points. So when you have a D shape, you're most likely accepting prices, which means two-sided activity. Two-sided activity is controlled by who? Who's in control of the market in two-sided activity?
Short-term time frame traders.
Yeah, it's always short-term traders. How you know it's not long-term?
Because they're not initiating.
Initiating. Can you tell, does everybody understand what he means? Can you visualize it? Rob, what does that mean? Does anyone?
Market orders.
Okay, but and how can you relate that to another concept in TPO? What
Access.
happens? Access is one. What about initial balance? What do we look for initial balance? What do C periods have to do if you want to have a trend day?
Break them.
Well, they have to make an extension, right? They have to break and they have to drive from there. So typically on, the way we monitor for other time frame traders entering the market is we're looking for single prints, right, inside the profile, or we're looking for, you can call them buying tails. You can look at unfair low, access low. Those are three identical names and they mean the same thing. Why? I don't know. People just came up with different terms. They mean it's an unfair low, means somebody thinks the price is unfairly priced too low, I guess. Does that make sense? So three names, one thing. Access high, unfair high, and a selling tail, they occur at the top. That's when price goes way too much and they need to bring it down. Market auctions up, why? In search of what?
Sellers.
Sellers. So then think about it. If you're searching sellers, you found them and then they push the price down, would mean that you met some really good sellers, right? Really loaded sellers on the ask. On the bottom, let's say we're driving the price here, we broke the trend of balance of 2 days. We have a irregular, I would say, D shape here, maybe lowercase p, B, I'm sorry. And then you have a short cover rally off a key level, and it doesn't take too much to look. Is there access here at all? Is there access on this day? Is this an unfair low?
Yes.
Anyone disagree? There was M period.
It's spike, right?
Yeah, but I'm leading you to a point that the spike was validated.
Yeah.
So therefore it is a tail. Right? It's an axis tail because the A period did what? The next day, what did we do to that, I guess, spike?
Reject.
Obviously,
above.
rejected it greatly because we skipped not only the spike, but we skipped the whole value of that day or whole range of that day. We opened pretty much at above PDH. So that's typically driven by what? How many
Aggressive.
people you think shorted on this giant candle here? Let me give you a scenario so you guys understand. People look at this a lot. You see this line? Oh man, that's a big line. That's big support. Well, what do they do to the big support? We go below. What do people do here?
So
Break of it.
Retail sells heavily here because they did not sell anywhere else. They didn't know to read the signs a little bit more to understand it. So they sell here and then they quickly turn around and let's say they bought, they swung puts for SPY here on Tuesday and they're like, man, we're going down. Big giant candle. You check the volume and maybe things check out there. I didn't actually check. Actually, it checks out there, right? So they get stopped and they get stopped because we are coming basically to a level. And why would this level be important? Why is this day important? I mentioned it earlier.
40, that's our balance high, prior balance.
Well, this is the day that broke the previous all-time high, right? The 45 was,
Yep.
I believe, this level here was our previous RTH all-time high. If you guys remember, we had the overnight high that we carried kind of forward. Yeah, so 44. Okay. So with that shape, we broke that. And typically what you want to do is when you have an all-time high and you have some critical levels like value area low right in there, those become really good traps. Can you guys see why it becomes a really good trap? You're breaking a previous all-time high. You just broke a key lower low structurally, right? So you're making higher highs. Here you made some lower lows, but then of course you gapped up, you made a higher high, and then here we put in a highest high, all-time high. We break in the low, so now we have a lower high and a lower low. So you're just looking pretty bearish. And then you're coming to this point, another lower low, you break the PDL. But if you're not aware of this 43 level, right? Let's say the previous all-time high, you could have gotten played. I don't know if you guys remember, if you go back on Sunday on the watch list, I'm pretty certain that I said you want to close your short here. And we want to see how do they behave. If from this demand, now think logically, if from this demand where it was seen as unfair low, they're not able to take out this unfair high, what does that tell you about this unfair low? Is it strong? Is it super strong?
No.
No. Why not?
And make a higher high.
They didn't make a higher high. So that means that these sellers or lack of buyers in this case, right? I can't say sellers here. Why not?
No excess.
You're saying no access here?
Yep.
Exactly. Does everybody follow that? Texas Raj, does that make sense? I'll wake you guys up in the watch list.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's no real aggression selling. So there
Yeah,
just
I
wasn't
mean,
any buying.
Selling tail.
I mean, there was, I think it's more exhaustion of a high rather than excessive sellers, right? Therefore, if you didn't have sellers, you know, here you took an unfair high, and then I believe, let me do, you have another unfair high here, you have lower highs with unfair highs. To me, that would be like, okay, the buyers are exhausted. Something's not right. And then today, you had this level, and did anyone mention about 86 level, 86.5 today?
Yes, shorted.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned shorter, but does everybody understand why? Why was that level that we had? Well, you guys are
Also,
looking at
previous day value area high
well, previous day value area,
or low.
previous day
And
value area
developing
low,
weekly.
developing weekly, and now you can look to the left and see, right, what happened here. And I just talked about this, right? I'm leading you back to the first box at the beginning of the watch list, and this will be the last piece before we put a plan for tomorrow. I just want to make sure you guys tie out. We were in balance here, were we not? Was this balance here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went imbalance 2 days, and then we broke the imbalance down, just like we broke previous all-time high with this here, and then this is the level, right? We broke that, right? We had some nice candles at the top, the A and B, I would say period, really, really nice stack there. Not much overlap. They just wanted to go lower. And then we came right to the levels, but then you made lower highs. And then look at the value, right? I mean, if you look at this box, you're coming back, you got inside, and then the next day you opened outside of it, which means what?
We're
Rejected.
accepting value up there.
Is somebody then having so think about futures, right? And when stuff gaps up or gap down, does that mean somebody had orders to sell at a higher level and we just drove the price for them to hit it and then we sold off? Usually you would do that. You would have, you know, opening orders that set, oh man, we just opened here, we filled those massive orders, and then we auction, right? So it would be, you know, open, reject, reverse. So gap up, somebody had some orders sitting there, right? And that's what happened. They gapped here, but then today they also had a gap, right? Did we gap up or down? We opened right here. And we closed right here. So we had a gap about what, 6 points? I mean, not a massive gap, but we had a gap. And then they worked the whole day, right? What did they do? Who started selling? What time frame?
Short term.
So that would be Europe selling. Is that correct?
Yeah, after the initial balance.
Well, D period is what time?
11:30, 11ish.
11 to 11:30, and Europe closes at
11:30.
11:30.
11:30.
Yeah. So you want to take a, you know, at least know where's the deep period. Usually I mess around with Burnside, right? I'm like, I need Europe. I need Burnside to sell. That means I want the Europe start selling and 11:30 for once. And usually they somehow do, and they usually set a pretty reversal date if you're doing day if you're doing something like we did today. But then when you zoom out, that was actually a rejection of the previous value. We are not agreeing on this price, and it seems like Europe's selling, right? So now it's going to be important, right? So you have the dealers and the CTAs, right? So if people start selling here, the locals or the dealers have to start doing what? Why are the locals there to begin with?
They're gonna have to
Why,
buy.
why do you guys have car dealers?
Be the middleman.
Yeah, you have a middleman, and middleman provides liquidity. If there was a manufacturing plant of BMWs in California and you live in Carolina, do you think BMW would have great sales in Carolina if you had to drive to California to buy a BMW?
No.
So to increase the liquidity, they open a dealership in Carolina and you go and buy it, right? And then it gives you more competitive prices and acceptance and rejections. And that's ideally kind of what we are dealing with nonstop, right? Locals provide liquidity. So when the price goes too low and people start selling aggressively, remember, locals have to buy it. And at one point, it comes where it's like, okay, well, we have too much inventory and, somebody triggers the sell. And then a lot of these CTAs or locals, as they're called, what do they have to do? They can't buy anymore.
Not to cover.
Well, you have to be delta neutral, right? You have to
They
be
have
at zero.
they dump.
They have to sell and they have to realize losses. Those guys take losses too, believe it or not. Just because you took one loss, guess what? They show up every other day and they collect your or mine and your money because they live off of fees. They're not profit. They like when we're in balance. They don't like when we're not in balance because it increases the risk. How's VIX priced in trends? Is volatility higher in trends or lower?
Lower.
So when you're accepting prices, you're saying it's higher volatility?
No. No, when in trend,
I
it's
caught you.
higher. Right?
No, you're accepting prices lower vol, but trend up is normally lower vol too.
Yeah, but think about if I'm accepting prices here, does local need to cover up uncertainty in the accepted price?
No.
No, it doesn't. What is the only, I guess, component of option pricing the dealers control?
Of what
Volatility.
option pricing you said?
Yeah, when you calculate option price,
Oh, yeah.
what is the only component that they can mess around with?
Price.
Mm-mm.
IV.
Is it Greek? Is it delta? Is it implied volatility? Anything like that? What can they mess around with? It means they can
Well,
increase it, lower it.
Yeah, implied vol.
Only implied volatility can be adjusted by them. So
Yeah.
now I'm putting you as a dealer, Tom. Okay. We're trading happily in this price for, let's say, 6 months. We're in that price. Are you going to jack up the IV here?
No,
No. Why not?
because I don't need the extra premium to cover my inventory.
You don't need the extra premium, but if you see that you have buyers and sellers that are starting trading brackets, you lower the IV, which makes the option what?
Cheaper.
Cheaper. When something is in balance and we have two-sided activity and it's cheap, it becomes a clear sign: buy low,
So high.
sell high.
Right.
So the dealers switch to volume selling instead of on a trend. They're like, oh man, I don't know, like news, right? They jack up the IV earnings 150, 160% because they're also playing bets. They're just protecting themselves. If you play 0 DTE like earnings, you might get lucky. You might make $1 million on Monday. On Tuesday, you will not have that $1 million or a house or wife or kids. Because it's a gamble. It's a big gamble and they control the IV. It does, even if the move is in your direction, there are cases if you're priced too far, delta's too low, and you didn't calculate, move per dollar. Most people don't. You're gonna lose.
Mm.
And I just wanted to make sure that you guys are understanding volatility. Usually when prices are accepted, volatility will not be that high. Okay. So in terms of today, it started off as, I would say, very boring day. Was there any signs that we might have a good short? What was your first sign that there was a potential for a short?
Not being able to crack that top penthouse.
First one is that you open below it. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
And why is that? Why do you?
Because
Why
we're
is
not
that?
accepting those prices higher. The
Exactly.
previous balance that was shown before.
Exactly. So if we are here and now we're testing this from the bottom, that's the second piece. That's like, hey, we tried to get in once and we are not able to. That was your like a reasonable sign to short it. Then you went above again. You made a lower high. First of all, you have a lower high, you have a lower low, you have an open outside of that area, right? And then you're coming back with lower highs and retesting. And then you had quite a few, let me see, why is this a weird color now? Thought I changed them. At this time, I think the VWAP was a little bit high. No, it was here. I think one of them was around, you had the VWAP, but then also you had the value area low, you had the prior balance, so it was a big test to get back inside. They tried, they failed, and then basically they put in lower highs or equal highs here. What do you guys think happened in the market auction here?
Couldn't find any more buyers. It was too expensive for them.
It was too expensive. Do you guys think there was too many longs here?
Yeah,
There
that's a
might have
crowded
been.
high.
Is this just a regular high or a crowded high?
Yeah, crowded.
It's a crowded high. And that would be also applicable here, right? So now think logically. We rejected out of this value. That means we're rejecting this area. They brought in buyers to the edge, and a lot of them stepped in maybe to buy it. And what did they do? Hey, you're trying to get into the value that we rejected out of. We probably have some sell orders sitting here, right? And they went down. So all the longs probably got trapped if you had footprints available around this time. You could probably see something, and you should take a look at it, Tom. This would be a good one for you. Like since you just got him 1055 to about 1140, see what happened there. Was there any absorption? Was there any aggressive sellers coming in? So that'll be a good homework for a lot of you learning footprints. Like what gave you a clue on footprints that this is coming? On the bottom, right? So you cleaned structure, you're making lower lows, lower highs. And here you made a higher low. So that meant, you got to crack this level here to basically make it an extended typical into this gap. So when you see that they can't do that the whole day, right? They reject it. It's a big level. You had signs that you're not going to be accepted in this price. If we stayed maybe above, I think it was somewhere around 74, 75-ish. If we stayed above 75 till the end of the day, most likely they could have. But then here, they sold off, they broke that balance. They hit it was 64.5, I think, yesterday. Now it's a little bit higher. And then you have the weekly developing value in this zone. So right now, for tomorrow, what's the level that we want them below?
60?
Tell me why.
On the end of the spike. It's been a key level. I don't remember all the.
Wasn't
This
a
pretty big.
previous all-time high around that too?
It's a little bit below. I think it's a 45.
I thought it was 60.
No,
Are you
64
talking about
is
this
that.
one here? This was the gap one. I mean, if you call it, sure. There's one here, 68, but this one is the one I kind of care about. Anyone else? Erica, what were you saying?
No, the 64 is the previous week value area low. See if we're rejecting that. And then also, I believe it was around 39 is previous week low to see if we start framing down on, we're already framing down on the daily to see if we start framing down on the weekly.
That's exactly it. We had this level marked Sunday, right? I deleted everything when I joined. But this was, our framing, weekly framing down. Oh, crap. Let me not do that. So this would mean what? If we break this level, or let's say tomorrow we close below it, is that pretty bullish?
No, bearish.
That'd be very bearish, right? I mean, that would mean that we're most likely breaking out of this balance at the top. And we're gonna start framing down, meaning the auction has shifted and the bears are in control. Okay. So it is also, this is our developing right now and it's being set around 60 level. Then you have the prior week sitting around 64.75, right? And then you have the whole December value area low, which would be basically these 2 weeks in between, is at 65. So this zone here, and then when you look at the volume, right, on the right side, this is kind of it's the HVN, right? So that means we spent a lot of time and volume here, right? Because it's on both. So if that's the case, and let's say tomorrow we can auction above this level, this zone, what would be the next step for us to auction to?
40.
Well, it would be that 40 zone, and you know what? Would you guys have the spike level marked for tomorrow? Would it matter?
No, because we gapped up.
Anyone else? Have you ever
I would
tested
say
that
yeah, because we
level?
never tested it. Yeah, I would say we never tested it.
We never tested this. So this becomes KJ, this becomes a carry forward level in TPO. If your stuff is not tested, like remember how we talked about, let me bring it up just so you guys can see it. Okay, so where is this? It was here. I think it was this one here. Where's 50? I think this was the Wednesday, Tuesday overnight high. Let me just see. Yeah, that was the overnight high that they had. So 47 was overnight high, and we carried that forward in our analysis as well, because we left it, but we never really came back to it. So if you leave a level, you can gap up over it, just go run away from it, auction early. I would still carry it forward, especially spikes, right? And if single print is never revisited, how long does it stay a single print?
Till it's visited.
Until it's visited. So once the price auction goes through those levels, it's no longer a single print. If you consolidate 2-3 days or 2 days, it's not going to be a single print. Because once price flew through it, the second time it visits that price, now you have 2 TP periods, and it's no longer single print. It's a LVN, but it's not unvisited, I would say single zone of emotional buying or selling. So we carry forward that level. I would pay attention to it, but is this a level where you guys want to initiate a lot of trades right here? If you're going to initiate trades here, you would want to see what?
Aggressive selling.
And price not
Holding above it.
that would be a bearish sign, right? But if you see a lot of selling and price is failing to make
Lower
lower
lows or crack
prices,
through it.
what does that mean?
Absorption. It's
That'll be the
passive
absorption.
buyers.
then you kind of take a look at the bid, right? You see if do you see any inflation on the bid side, like PPI today, or is it on the ask side, right? Where is it coming? And then relatively, where is the price to those trades on that order? So I would not be short as you approach this area. It's not a spot to find out. If we are in a 2-week bracket, what is the expected behavior here or below it?
Buy. Bounce.
Responsive buyers.
Responsive buyers, because in bracketed markets, like I just explained earlier when we talked about the D shapes, you buy low, you sell high. I mean, think about the sentiment that's in the market with retail. People are buying options, just buying calls, and you make money. A lot of people that I met through Discords or stories on Twitter is people that made so much money on AMC, and then they lost everything they have in their life. How's that even possible? Like, you made so much money, but you lost it all.
Lack of knowledge overall and discipline, I would say.
I'd
Discipline,
say
but
they made a ton of money on AMC because they were gambling.
there you go, Bean. I was kind of going towards that. And then there's something called what? Gambler's fallacy. You don't know what that is? Look it up, and most people fail for that. Right? They will let you win some money because they know you're not going to last. Because humans tend to get greedy. The worst thing you can do in a bullish trend market is what?
Be a pair.
You do not want to be greedy in bullish markets like right now. Greed's what gets the average investor destroyed in the bull market. And hopefully you guys can all understand why. And that's exactly what happens now, right? We're in a very bullish state as a market. I don't know if you agree, economy or not, but the president changed, and then the rest of the world's falling apart. But we're at all-time highs. So, and people are buying, right? People are buying a lot of stuff. People are bullish. But I don't know if we reached that max where they're like, oh man, we got them all. Did they sell all the inventories? We don't know. We don't see, for instance, any excess highs just yet. Maybe there's just some exhaustion and they're going to revisit the bottom, searching for what?
Buyers.
Yeah. So now if they see the buyers were buying here, the rest of the buyers are going to do what in this area? It doesn't have to be here. It can be here, right? But once you lose, for instance, a key level like this, let's say you lose this zone right here, well, it might trigger. Remember how I said the locals sometimes have to sell? Well, just imagine if the locals, let's say they're over leveraged, like they're not delta neutral, and they're like, oh crap, if we hit this level, we have to start selling. And we have to start selling quick. Because that would minimize their losses, right? If other people start panicking for some reason. And then the more these buyers are buying because it's imbalanced, then it's triggered by an imbalance. Maybe an inventory rebalancing needs to occur. It means we had too much long position on locals. Their warehouses were full, so they're like, let's get rid of it here, and we'll look to buy it where? At the next cheaper price that has value, which should be somewhere around here, right? This would be an HVN for us or November POC. And of course, if I write November POC, it should mean it's what? For the past month, is it an LVN?
It's the highest volume node of the last month.
Exactly. It's the highest volume node, which is also the fairest price. So if you're going from unfair price, where are you most likely to go search?
Fair price.
Well, hopefully you want to go to the fair price. Is there a potential that they might not agree on that previous fair price?
Yes.
Yeah, certainly. Why not? they can disagree, but typically you don't just fly through some of those levels, right? You're gonna slow down a little bit. Doesn't mean necessarily it's a bounce, but think about now. I don't want to buy it at the fair price. I want to buy it below the fair price. That would be a value investor, right? That would be somebody, a longer term value, person. So they might buy it cheaper, right? If we lose some of these levels, I would say this November POC is highly likely. But can I make assumptions that we're going to break this? I would say low here. Yeah, there's a little bit more on the bearish side than bullish side. And why do I say that? Anyone have an idea?
Second test.
Why do it change?
Because you've already
Friday
entered.
and
You already entered in a
many
previous consolidation zone.
Okay. But I also did that here. We consolidated, I came back and I held. You consolidated, you came back and I held. I didn't let you go higher. I didn't let you go lower. But tell me, where's the specific reason? Like if there's any, right? Why is it a bit more bearish or more bullish?
Oh, no higher high. Maybe it's more
On new
bearish.
higher high? On new higher high, it would be bearish.
Yeah.
Either I'm not following or you're
No,
saying
no, I
if
said no new higher high is bearish here.
yeah, oh yes. Or you're saying no new higher high. I was like, man, if we have a new higher high, I'm like,
No,
I don't
no,
know.
no, no. Yeah, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. If you don't make a new higher high, it's probably not gonna be, as bullish as you think. And then here, you would have, remember, retail now has to get involved. And for now, it looks like a double top, and then it also looked like, right, it has a double bottom. So now you can look like head and shoulders, left shoulder, head, shoulders. I don't know, right? And retail starts formulating opinions, and then they start getting into shorts at wrong positions. And as long as shorts get in the wrong positions, what is market gonna do?
Deliver pain.
They're gonna deliver the pain, guys. So if people are anticipating us to fall here, most likely we're not gonna fall there. Right, so that's where you watch, right? So tomorrow, if they do something like this and they reclaim this, probably a good sign to not be in the short. Then, do you want to trim in this area right here? If you go along here, is this a trimming zone?
Oh, definitely.
You trim.
I mean, that's 13 points.
Yeah, I mean, you trim or close, right? Depending how you trade, but this is a good, if you're one contract, you're closing here. Like you have no business here. If you have 9 contracts and then you have one, you can play around with that one. And that's kind of like fuck around and find out with that one. Because from here, you can definitely make lower levels because that would mean you're not accepting, right? December value area at all. And if I'm not accepting December value area low, I have to seek previous months, which is pretty stacked here. Like they're very close, which kind of falls in that 47 area. So it's not the best area to necessarily short, but if we see too many shorts here, then most likely they bounce. They will play them because options are driving, market. I can't even say it. Market's very, very large, and it's been controlling, especially with SPX 0 days. So they can move the market through option, I would say, right now.
Did you see the 24-hour change, Shorty?
I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, come on. You know how much retail would, oh my God, they would suffer 24 hours a day.
Pretty sure it got approved. I'm pretty sure it got approved. I don't know when it starts or what exactly the details are.
I would hate that.
They're currently doing it in test beta in I think,
so it's coming.
Yeah, no, they're already doing it in on Thinkorswim.
Oh wow.
On certain stocks.
Yeah, so
beta.
yeah, there you go. 24/7.
That would
The
suck.
show must go on.
It would add so much more complexity because the more data they have and more complexities they do, it becomes harder for us to add more factors to your risk and how to behave. They have longer time to figure you out. Man, that would be brutal. Well, let's see. So if we do reclaim, let's say lose this level and then reclaim it, that would mean what in terms of is that a poor low? Could it be a poor low? Maybe typically what you would look for probably some access low, right? You will look to see tomorrow if we are, let's say, in C period tomorrow, C cracks and then it retraces and it makes higher high. So basically that would become access. This becomes most likely like a P shape up. So that would most likely indicate that other time frame participants are still buying below value on 2 weeks or a month, right? So far, I guess half a month. So 2 week balance, that would mean the responsive buyers are there and they're just going to buy it up. And then of course, as we go higher, the retail is going to do what here?
Buy more.
FOMO in.
Retail buys, and once the retail buys, especially if they make higher high and then trap them, those are the wars. Then it would be a problem, right? Then they could sell it much quicker because then they will be buying, and they just accelerate the selling because they know where they're buying, right? This is a pretty good range, guys. 47 to 103. That's a pretty decent bracket. I don't think that's bad for ES. But on monthly profile, is there any concerns out of monthly? Just leading you halfway there.
The POC's on top.
Yeah. POC's on top. We haven't closed yet, so we don't know where is that going to occur. Would you, if you're in a really good trend, should the value high be higher or lower? Would you want it to be higher or lower?
Higher.
Okay, so if we are currently here, right, at that blue line, and it's December 12th, if we shift this value to 6,087 and we build it out that way, what would that be? Bullish or bearish?
Neutral.
Yeah.
Say bearish.
Really
Was
bearish
that a
because you peak
trick
above and
question?
fail.
Don't even think about peak, about fail. If you're here at one point, your value area was here, but you're not able to keep that high there, and your value area shifted down. It means the extremes of that bell curve of 68 is shifting down on the price. It means the prices are being accepted lower, not higher. Like that would mean that this level right here, you were in value here at one point. This was value. But if this one starts shifting, what happens to this area? What does this become?
Rejected.
It becomes rejected. It's not inside the 68% anymore. So the bell curve would look like this one would be here, and your value now is shifting, right? This is our value area high. Now, value area low, let's say. Now this one shifts here, and this one shifts here. That means that this price is no longer in what? If this is my bell curve.
Value.
Not in my value, right? So that means on volume, it means that not a lot of volume was spent there, right? People were not happy trading in that area. And if you're not happy trading an area and you auction lower, that can be bullish, can it?
Nope.
Can that be, guys, there's no way that can be bullish. You're accepting prices lower from one point. So I would say keep an eye on if this POC shifts tomorrow. I'm anticipating that this is going to shift somewhere around here if we auction above 65. And if we do, then you have a double distribution profile, right? It'd be a nice one too. In an uptrend, and you closed in between, which means you carry forward, it's in balance, and you're watching the next month. What is it going to occur? But if this value area shifts and we stay with it, then most likely we're going to get a quicker move outside of it. Why would I say you get a quicker move out of it if this value area shifts down?
The compressed value area, so the move will be bigger.
The move is measured by how long you stay in value. Is that true?
Well, isn't it both things?
Well, the longer I stay in this period, what does that mean about volume?
Happy trading there?
Is the volume is this gonna be an LVN or HVN?
HVN.
Definitely HVN, right? Because that means we're happy. And I mean, here's an example of that POC, guys. Let me turn this on. Man, did I just lose my VRVP? Okay, here's your visual, guys. So, okay, so now you can see that this node here is pretty massive. That's an HVN. So if we leave that area and create another HVN here, like we did, but if we can't close, let's say tomorrow or crack above this, you know, that's pretty bearish. You're rejecting at the top value and then you lose this value area high. Well, most likely you're playing what? We have an 80% chance of what occurring. If we lose, let's say, this previous all-time high and then we lose November POC, your odds increase greatly here.
November value area low.
Yeah, if we lose this at level here, there's 80% chance that we're going here. But let's say they come here and then they retest. Which one has less risk? If I take a trade here below, or if I take the trade here?
The second one.
Second one, you have a higher probability of working out. From here to here, it's 80. Well, from here to here, with proper management, right? You potentially make a little bit more, right? So if you look at this, let's say you manage something like this. I know you guys don't like this return, so I will say you guys would not take it.
Hey, I like it.
4-1 is a trade you want to attempt to take, right? So I would suggest that you guys keep an eye on this for a longer term. So this would be a peak above and fail, and that would be a pretty quick one. Okay, and today is I would say PPI. I don't think that was good news PPI, if you want to put it that way. I think that was pretty bad news PPI. You are cutting rates, but yet inflation is sticky. Reminds me of 1987. But doesn't have to repeat.
There's no way you were that old in 1987.
That old?
I feel like you were really. Are you like remember, like looking back and it reminds you of 1987, or remembering of 1987?
Yeah, I'm gonna send down the
40.
market. I'll let you figure it out.
Shorty's not. He's not that old.
He's in his 40s, I think.
Gotta be like low 40s.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta be low
Everybody's
40s.
obsessed.
Put him on mute. Put him on mute.
I am.
That's what I'm saying, Rockets. That's what I'm saying. Rockets is talking like he's or Shorty's talking like he's 60.
I
He's
was in
like back
college.
in '87. This reminds
But
me.
you look like you're 96, man. I look much younger.
I graduated from college in '87.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, you're right. You won. You won. You won. That was good. That was good. All right, guys. Well, that's it for me. Hopefully, you guys you should be able to conclude what are the key levels, and if you can't, then I did a bad job explaining tonight. And you guys can talk about it, but bullish is 65, and you cannot make a mistake tomorrow and fight the trend. Look at the market price, accepting, rejecting the key level. Acceptance, we can look for some bounces, and our reward might not be the best entry, but you let them play because you should know where they're going if they can hold a 65, right? There's high chances, most likely, I would say 74ish with the weekly, daily VWAP, and the monthly VWAP is kind of sitting in this area. So this is the first time in a while that we're kind of cracking below it and struggling to go above this trio. So I would definitely watch this, right? It'll be a really interesting auction tomorrow. We're entering the vacation area, and usually the bonuses were made by now on that side of the world. So they're probably packing soon. So we'll find out if tomorrow's heavy, because I think after this week, yeah, the volume is basically gonna die. Like there's not gonna be much. So if somebody has to sell, when do you think they want to do it?
Probably now with a higher volume.
Mañana.
It would be a good time to execute soon and go on your skiing trip. Okay.
When does volume usually come back? The beginning of January?
I would say on that, I think it's usually the 3rd or 4th week in January. And
So around inauguration time?
Yeah, inauguration time on every 4th year, but usually it's the tax date for companies. Depending on when they bought certain stuff and their outflows were big or inflows selling, you can figure it out based on some companies, right? Based on their reports, but usually 3rd, 4th week of January, late 3rd week. Because you have some holidays in January, keep that in mind. I think you have one that market's closed. All right, guys. Hopefully this made sense. Hopefully you guys picked, if you're new, something out of it. I will see. I'll trade tomorrow since we don't have any news. I don't have any funerals to go to, so I'll be there.
Thank you.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shorty.